Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today is Meet the Attorney. Happens to be the last Meet the Attorney of this great season that we had here in 2023. Hope you guys enjoyed all the great attorneys that I introduced you to. But today, I'm going to introduce you to the Mac Daddy of South Florida, the one, the only, the great Nexcy De La Rosa Monroe. How are you doing, Nexcy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am doing fantabulous. I just made up that word. But anyway, Nexcy, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what do you do. Then we get into some really very important questions. How's that?
Sure. So I am a family attorney down here in South Florida. We cover cases primarily in Miami and Broward County. I was born in Puerto Rico. Interesting story behind that. But originally my parents are from Dominican Republic.
Wepa.
So in terms of, but I grew up down here in Miami, so I consider myself a local Miamian. I went to elementary, middle school, high school, down here, and also law school.
Oh, okay. So you basically lived all your life down in Miami.
Pretty much.
Yeah, not a bad place. I love it. So you are a family law attorney down there. And oh, by the way, I forgot to tell the audience, you're the last attorney that I'm interviewing this year in this Meet the Attorney series. But you're also the third client of mine that I'm interviewing on this, so that's a great thing.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to close out your season.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so we get into a lot here, and I always so the audience knows I always ask my people, my visitors, if you will, what topic do you want to talk about? And I'm very intrigued as to the topic you selected. And you selected the topic family drama no more. Let's get into that. Like, what do you mean by family drama no more? As a family law attorney, I find that an interesting topic.
Well, as you probably know, when it comes to divorces, it comes to custody cases, child support, family attorneys we're like the magnet for the family drama. So most clients, when they come to us, they're coming to us with the drama. And our goal is, our firm is very client-centered. So our goal is to be able to help our clients go from the drama to the peace. So we like to tailor our representation based on what our clients' interests are, but also so that by the end of the case, they're in a much better place than they were when they began. So you come to us for some peace.
So let me ask you this question. I'm glad you said that, because I've interviewed, obviously, a lot of family law attorneys on this show. And one of the common denominators that I've seen, or I've heard, is that you guys sometimes feel like you're therapists. Do you agree with that?
That is true. What I'll tell you is that you can either have a lawyer that will antagonize what you're going through, or a lawyer that will help you figure out a solution that, while you as the client may be emotional about the process, we're focused on what your goal is and what the end result is. So while you may come to us being angry, being upset, disappointed, our goal is to get you to the point where you can see with clarity what is the end result. Do you want to keep your retirement? Do you want to keep your house? Where are your kids going to school? Are you going to get financial support? All the stuff in the middle is a lot of drama, but sometimes clients get lost in the drama because of their emotions. So our goal is to make sure that while you're going through that emotional turmoil, that you don't get sidetracked by those feelings of what the ultimate goal is. Because you may be upset with the other party, you may not be able to co-parent, but at the end of the day, the result is going to be, are your kids now going to have to go to therapy? Are you going to drive an extra 40 minutes to get your kids to school? Are their grades going to suffer? So if we focus on that being the ultimate goal, I think it helps our clients get to that place where it's not so much about the disagreement with the other party, but more about how can we reach a resolution that's going to get them to their ultimate goal, which is they want to see their kids happy. They want their kids to be healthy. They want to have the money to send their kids to college, sometimes for private school. So all of those things sometimes get lost in the emotions because you're bitter against the other side. Mm-hmm. So I would say that we do act as therapists. We also do recommend that our clients see a therapist because our goal is we know that hiring an attorney is usually a once in a lifetime situation. So we know that it's expensive. We know that there's going to be a cost. So if it's going to be less expensive for you to talk to your therapist with a licensed professional, we're going to recommend that instead of you speaking directly to us about emotional issues that you may have. But we certainly deal with that as family law attorneys.
Yeah. Now you said a mouthful there that I want to dive into some more, so like we can get more information for the listeners here. So one of the things that I'm hearing is that you get involved into a lot of the kids' issues, like the whole dynamics of post-divorce. Post-divorce, what life looks like, if you will. Talk more about that, because I've interviewed a lot of family law attorneys, but I never heard anyone actually discuss it in terms of the post-divorce, what that may look like. So is that like, do you think that is your quote unquote superpower, or that's what differentiates you from the other attorneys? Because I've never heard that.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying today's content. While I have you on here, I want to introduce you to a promo that we have going on for the spring of 2024 for all legal practices throughout the U.S. I have an outstanding offer that we've never been able to offer before, but we want to do it because you have been an avid listener. We're only promoting this to people who listen to the show. So if you're an attorney and you are an avid listener to the show and you're thinking about possibly opening your own practice, you want to pay attention to this announcement. We are offering a full website with hosting, SSL certificate, online booking service, online appointment management, and more, and much, much more, with a 1-year maintenance, all for $2,250. That's $2,250 one-time fee, and you have a full-fledged website. If you want to know more about this, just give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at info@lbmsllc.com. Just make sure that you mentioned that you heard it on the show, and we'll definitely get you that discount. So with that, I'm going to bring you back to the content.
Well, I'll tell you this, that if I give you an example of someone who initially starts a case and they are focused on the immediate problem, and usually the immediate problem, while it may seem that it's a legal issue, it's a people problem. It's you can't communicate, you can't agree. You have feelings from the past that are affecting your ability to agree to to a solution. But when it comes to our representation and our perspective, to try to get you to a resolution that works for you and your family, we try to focus on the individual's journey to get to the resolution. So we take a look at from the beginning, what is the end result that you would like to have? And we will schedule strategy sessions to figure out what is the best route to that, taking into consideration the financial concerns, so that while you're going through the process, you're one, looking at what the alternatives are, and also have a end result in mind. So most people that are dealing with their initial people problem or the case problem, when you're going through a divorce, your first instinct is not, what is going to happen in the future? What kind of life am I going to have? But the reality is that you're going to recover from this relationship. Your children are going to have a separate relationship with the other parent. They might have significant others. So it can be very difficult to get stuck in what you're going through now without looking at the future picture. Your kids may be in middle school now and will eventually be in high school. So while the immediate response is always to what the problem is at the moment, our goal is to get you to think about, you know what? Maybe you need a little break from, little Tommy or Sarah, on the weekends so that you can go on a date. Maybe you need a break so that you can go get your nails done. Maybe you need a break so that you can hang out with the guys. So our superpower isn't necessarily, to get you to look at that perspective. I think our superpower as a team at the firm is more offering clients compassion. Everyone on our team, from the person who answers the phone, collects the bill, the paralegal, anyone scheduling, we treat every issue from a compassionate perspective, because we understand that this is stressful. We understand that, that sometimes you're not angry with us, you're angry with the other side, you're angry with the process, you're angry with the time that it takes. So we're kind of like, our clients they're the heroes. They're the ones with the superpower. We're like the sidekick. We make sure that it happens and play a supporting role, because at the end of the day, when we're done with a case, guess what? You're the one that has to deal with, the other party. You're the one that will have to see the children and see what is the result of your actions. So while we're there to assist, at the end of the day, the client is the one that has to live with the result.
Amen to that. Yeah, I know. I love that. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So up until now, we've been talking about the current state. Nexcy, let's talk about your journey. Like, what made you choose the law, number one, and then specifically, what made you choose family law? And even before we get to that, how long have you been in practice?
So I've been in practice over 14 years. I've always practiced family law from the beginning of my career. I volunteered initially in college as a guardian ad litem, which is a representative that the court appoints in order to hear from the child and to hear recommendations on what is the best interest of a child involved in a family court case. And I just fell in love with the ability to have an impact on how a child's future could be affected. And because being a guardian ad litem is part of the family court process, that was sort of my introduction to the world of family law. I definitely like a lot of lawyers you've probably heard, I was in love with Matlock. So after school, in elementary school, while all the other kids might have been watching cartoons, I was watching the reruns on Matlock. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to help people. And in my studies in undergrad, while I was at Florida State, I did a lot of courses that had to do with, social issues and the impact that a child's education and parenting has on their future life, that I wanted to be able to have an impact in a way that affected children. When you think about criminal cases, you're defending or you're prosecuting. And when you think about civil cases, generally you're fighting over money. When you deal with family cases, you're talking about people's day-to-day lives. You're talking about their children. You're talking about their retirement. You're not only impacting a small area of their life, but you're helping them overcome and sometimes improve their quality of life, as well as the impact that they have in their children. While it's very popular to say, happy wife, happy life, I think that happy parent, happy kids. If you don't have a happy parent, it's very difficult for your child to be able to emulate what does happiness look like? What does a successful relationship look like? So while a lot of parents will sometimes, stay in relationships because they are worried about the kids, I'd say, look, if you're worried about the kids and the impact that you're doing or what result it would have on them over a divorce, the bigger concern is, what impact will it have on the kids to see you sad, to see you upset, to see you disappointed, to see you not going after your dreams, to see you not being able to resolve conflict, and to be in a situation where they observe the conflict and they internalize it. And while they may not speak about it at the moment, it ends up impacting them in the future.
Okay. So it sounds to me like, because, family law, of course, is more than just divorce. It's child custody, it's, domestic violence. So it sounds to me like most of your cases, if you will, are surrounding divorce. Is that accurate?
So I would say that the majority are divorces and custody and child support disputes. But we also deal with prenup, post-nuptial agreements. We also deal with, there are instances where it's exclusively child support. And we also deal with grandparents' rights. Sometimes there is a relative that has a child because the parent is either unavailable for medical reasons or even just for convenience purposes, but they don't have any paperwork. And what sometimes is very prevalent is that a parent would leave a child with a grandparent and maybe sign what they think is an authorization, a power of attorney that has been handwritten or purchased from Office Depot, and thinks that that's enough in order to enroll the child in school, in order to get the child benefits, in order to get the child medical coverage through the grandparent. That's not sufficient. So we represent a lot of parents and grandparents and other relatives to get custodial rights over the minor children, while the parent, it may be due to military, it may be due to work, it may be due to substance abuse issues, it may be to financial issues sometimes.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you something I don't think I've ever asked anyone. Just out of curiosity. How often, how common are common law type of situations where there's a child involved, but they're not actually legally married? I mean, how common are those cases?
Oh, that is that is probably more common than the opposite.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
There are, and what something that sometimes will come up is that potential clients will call and say, my husband, my wife. And then when we represent them, they're like, oh, yeah, I've been with the person for 20 years, or we have, 3 kids together. And we're like, okay, where's the marriage certificate? Oh, we're not actually legally married. So I will tell you this, that what is surprising is that in those situations, a lot of times the parties are very amicable. And because they don't have maybe the financial strings to separate, or the financial assets to separate, that we've had a lot of situations where parents just don't know what is the legal path. So they'll reach out to us and we'll help them navigate, how do you come up with a parenting plan? And to us, that's the best situation, where we're able to negotiate an agreement that helps both parents be involved and is for the benefit of the child. The other thing that I will mention is that while divorce tends to be very combative, there's an emotional process to, accepting that you're going through a divorce, and that there are things that have to change and adjustments that have to be made. So while in the beginning of a case, it may be very contentious, I would say that 90% of divorces get resolved in either mediation or through negotiation with an attorney, because it gives you a little more control over what specifically will happen in the parenting plan and what kind of schedule you can get. Because even if you have a trial before a judge, that judge only knows you and your case for that amount of time. They haven't been to your house. They don't know, the details or intricacies of what your schedule is. And it allows parents to be a little more flexible, so that if a parent has an overnight schedule or they have an unpredictable work schedule, it's something that can be worked out. Where with a judge, if you can't accommodate certain things, then the judge may say, well, you can't have that time sharing. So that's something that, while people are afraid of the process, we encourage them to embrace it, because when you engage in it, you have a better opportunity to create something that works for both parents and is going to be beneficial to the child.
90% can be resolved in mediation? That I got stuck on that. Did I hear you correctly?
Well, listen, this isn't a scientific research that I've done. I'm just telling you that, in our firm, that's our rate, because we really don't approach this from, let's get 100 cases. We're not a firm that deals with, there are some firms out there that will have thousands of cases and clients will feel like a number. Our goal is to get you a resolution, and if you want to fight, if you're entitled to something, if you have some serious concerns about, the other parents, substance abuse, we will go to court and we will go to Matt, for what your child is entitled to. But the reality is that we want to service the client based on what their need is. So while I could tell a client, look, we can do 1,000 things and it's going to cost you this much, before we go to trial, I tell them, listen, this are all your options. I need to know what is priority to you. You can spend X amount going after every single thing, and it will cost you. And that may mean that you're dipping into your retirement, you're dipping into what you would have saved up for college savings, or we can focus on the most important things so that you can, one, limit what your financial expense will be, but also so that you can negotiate some of the things that you may not necessarily be happy with, but you can live with. And that's because while any attorney can tell you, listen, let's go to trial, let's fight everything. Guess what? I'm going to tell you, this is the likelihood of the result that you want. While we will fight for you, let's be smart about this. Let's be strategic about this. If you're going to spend, $5,000 on pursuing an issue that there's a 20% that you're going to win on, then I want you to be able as a client to make that choice. I'm taking the risk. I know what the expense is. Now, if you know that there's a 90% and you want, and we're telling you that it's a 90% outcome of it, then it's up to you to decide, yes, I want to take it or I don't want to take it. As attorneys, we can never, just for ethical reasons, we can never guarantee a certain result, but we're realistic with our clients. Something, a certain time sharing schedule may be realistic for one parent, and for another parent, it's unrealistic just based on the facts.
I hope the audience noticed something. You're really attached to the result, and that is a very, very good trait as a family law attorney to have, because if you focused on the result, you definitely will give them the right path, whether it be mediation or straight up divorce or child custody or whatever that case is. It seems like you're very, very attached to the result, and that's kudos to you for that. Just wanted to give you that little tidbit. I'm sure there's some people listening that are saying the same thing as you were going through that process. So kudos again, once again. Let me ask you, I'm going to switch gears again just to get into who Nexcy is a little bit more. Well, actually, before we do that, let me ask you this. You said Broward County and Dade County is your focus, right?
Yes.
Do you work in Palm Beach County at all, or any other county in the state of Florida?
So in the state of Florida, we do any prenups and postnups. We will consult with other attorneys, just depending on what type of case it is. What is sometimes misleading is that if a person lives in a certain county, they can't pursue something in another county. So we offer a case evaluation from the onset to determine if it's something that you will pursue here in Florida. I can tell you that we've had clients that live in other states, but if the child is residing here in Florida with the mother or the father, the case has been initiated here. Sometimes both of the parties have moved, but the initial case was started down here. So we would end up representing them. So where you're currently living may or may not affect where your actual case is. But as a licensed attorney in the state of Florida, I can give legal advice to anyone in Florida.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so now I'm going to switch gears. Just out of curiosity, what does Nexcy like to do for fun? Like, what's outside of helping families get together? What other things that sparks Nexcy?
Well, I definitely love to travel. I have a 7-year-old daughter who keeps me busy. But I consider myself the kind of creator of dreams. If she can dream it, I can make it happen. But
I like
she
that.
definitely has a happy mommy. And that fuels my ability to not only be a model for her and, to create a pathway for her to have experience I've never had, but also allows me to be in tune with what happens with clients. Just in the school system alone, I can tell you that it's surprising to me when she entered elementary school that I think you need like a degree just to keep up with the communications, the homework. I have I post all the time on my social media about homework chronicles, and any parent that has children, I would say under the age of 12, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But, to answer your question in terms of, what I love to do, I love giving back. I'm actively involved in my church. I serve in a lot of different capacities in the local community through social engagement and just community service based programs. I've been the president of a couple of voluntary bar associations in the area, which have given me the opportunity to connect with other individuals and create a program where we donate book bags and school supplies to children in the Dominican Republic. So I just love to give an experience. If I could narrow it down to two different things, it would be not only being able to share the information that I have, that I've learned as a business owner, as a mom, as a lawyer, as someone who has been given the opportunity to pursue a legal career. I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to share that with others.
So speaking about that, let's say someone listens to this and they say, you know what, Nexcy, I've been thinking about starting my own firm. Who would you advise that person?
Well, I'll say this, that the first thing is that you have to think of it as a business. So this would apply to whether you want to start a law firm, whether you want to start a therapy practice, whether you want to start even a nonprofit. I would encourage the person to first think about it from the perspective of a business, and any successful business needs a business plan. And this doesn't mean that it needs to be something complicated, but you need to write out what is your plan for this business. And over time and learn from learning experiences, you will be able to develop it. But I would say that would be the first step. Number two, I would say that you need to figure out who is your ideal client. And before you quit your job, decide you're just going to, hang up a shingle, is you have to know where your clients are coming from, and you have to pre-build that pipeline of clientele. So even if you're working for someone else, you want to create the relationships with other attorneys and other referral sources that they're sending cases to you, even if they're being worked through the company that you're in, just so that as you start your new practice or your new business, you know that there are certain people that will be sending you cases. And the third thing would be is that you need to find someone or a program that will give you the shortcuts. And in any business venture, someone has already done it. They've been in business 20, 40 years. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes we're afraid to share what we don't know. So if you just assume that if you don't know something, someone will have the answer, then if you're seeking the information, what is it that they say? The teacher will come when the student is ready.
Yeah, when the student's ready. Yep.
So if you're starting a business, you want to look for somebody who is doing it successfully, not just someone who has a business, but that they're doing it successfully. They're in the line of work that you're in, so that you can get the shortcuts from them. Because there's so many things that when you start something new, you just don't know. And it could be as simple as, how do you get a telephone company? How do you set up these phones? And it could be a 5-minute conversation that cuts 2 days of work because you just didn't know who to call, what company, what vendor to use, how to go about it, how to set it up. What is the most cost efficient way to proceed?
Yep. No, I got it. It's funny. One of the things I want to share with the audience is that both Nexcy and I, although that's not how we met, we're both students of the whole business mastery for Tony Robbins. So it's a small world out there. But yeah, that's great advice. I'm glad I asked that question. What's the website where people can get a hold of you?
So we have several, we have the website, which is delarosamonroelawfirm.com. And then you can follow us on Facebook. You can just look up De La Rosa Monroe Law Firm. And then on Instagram, it's Divorce and Peace Miami is the handle.
Right. And I will put all those links in the show notes so everyone could check you out. So I'm glad you were able to come here. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a very, very busy attorney. You got to help all those families save their families down in the Miami area. And incidentally, I always been thinking about, and I think I told you this before in our previous conversations, about moving down to Miami. At least I know, at least I already know an attorney. So that's a good thing. But before I let you go, is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
I would say, or I guess what I would like to leave the audience with is that, when you're facing a difficult decision, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a custody or a child support dispute, is that as the person going through this issue, the first step to any decision is to decide. And while it may be scary, it may be disappointing, it may be embarrassing, it may be out of what you're expected to do, that once you make the decision in your mind that you have the right to be happy, your kids have the right to be happy, that you have the opportunity to change the outcome of your life based on the decisions that you make, that as long as you're making the best decision that is good for you and your children, that your brighter days are ahead of you. And as long as I've been representing clients, I've never had a client say, I regret getting a divorce. I've never had a client say, I regret establishing a parenting plan for my kids. I regret getting child support so that my child can experience what they're entitled to, get the financial support that they need.
Okay. Well, that's great. I'm glad I asked that question. That's very, very, very good advice. There you have it, folks. If you are in Dade County, Broward County, or anywhere in Florida, and you need some sort of advice from a pro in the family law arena, look up Nexcy De La Rosa Monroe. Her information is on the show notes. You will check that out. Her IG, her Facebook, and her website. I'm sure you would more than happy with the end result that you get. So with that, I am going to put an end to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Nexcy De La Rosa Monroe. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.